6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala, read by Soundithavam. The President unveils ambitious plans for agricultural and technological transformation. The China Foundation for Rural Development pledges to support Sri Lanka to increase rural productivity. The Grade 5 scholarship paper marking will commence today. The British High Commissioner calls on the Defence State Minister. US envoy highlights need for fairness in Sri Lanka's debt restructuring. The Sri Pada pilgrim season begins on December 26th. In foreign news, Netanyahu says Israel preparing for Gaza ground invasion but won't say when. In sports, the World Cup match between Sri Lanka and England will be played in Bengaluru today. President Ranil Wickremesinghe, addressing the 117th anniversary of the Institute of Engineers, outlined plans for modernizing the Agriculture Ministry. He expressed his intention to seek external assistance to design a new agricultural ministry by studying how similar ministries function in countries like Thailand and Malaysia. He emphasized the need for a well-defined ministerial structure for progress. The President also discussed the next stage of modernizing agriculture, including the utilization of previously unused land, particularly in the Mahaveli area and plantations, covering approximately 700,000 to 1 million acres. Additionally, he pointed out the importance of incorporating various agriculture research institutes into a single institution called the University for Agricultural Technology and engaging the private sector. This holistic approach aims to modernize agriculture with a focus not only on education in agriculture but also in engineering. Additionally, the President made a significant announcement about the amalgamation of the plantation industries and agriculture sectors, which were separated since 1970. He discussed the historical context of this separation and the need to modernize the agricultural sector. President Wickremesinghe encouraged collaboration and input from the Institute of Engineers and left the door open for ongoing consultation as these plans to develop and progress. The President also highlighted the pivotal role of engineering in Sri Lanka's future development. He emphasized the significant contributions of engineers to the nation, both historically and in the present, mentioning milestones such as the construction of the Kandy Road and the Mahaveli program, which was completed in a remarkably short time frame. A meeting between Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena and the Vice President of China Foundation for Rural Development, Liu Wenkui, was held yesterday at the Prime Minister's office. Noting that China's success in poverty alleviation, rural development and ensuring food security is exemplary, the Prime Minister said he is grateful for China's great contribution to the efforts of Sri Lanka, as well as other developing countries, to achieve food security. The Prime Minister, recalling that during President Ranil Wickremesinghe's visit to Beijing last week, Chinese President Xi Jinping said that he would continue to support Sri Lanka, expressed gratitude to China for the assurance given by the Chinese leader. Mr. Liu said that since his foundation, a non-governmental organization specializing in poverty alleviation, has expertise in rural development, it can support Sri Lanka in increasing rural productivity for the multifaceted goals of self-sufficiency, uplifting rural low-income families and boosting exports. The Agriculture Minister Mahinda Amaraveera has advised to increase the fine for stealing cattle up to 1 million rupees. It has been reported to the Ministry of Agriculture that cattle thefts are currently on the rise across the island. Under the existing Animal Welfare Act, the maximum fine for stealing a cow is 50,000 rupees. Apart from that, there is no mention of imprisonment for it. Taking this matter into consideration, the Minister of Agriculture, Mahinda Amaraveera, has advised the officials of the National Livestock Development Board to amend the Animal Welfare Act by including clauses to impose a fine of 1 million rupees and imprisonment with hard labour for at least 1 year for the theft of milk cows. A discussion regarding the new amendments to the Animal Welfare Act was held recently at the Ministry of Agriculture. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Andrew Patrick, called on the Defence State Minister Premita Bandara Tennakone at his office in Colombo on Tuesday. Matters of bilateral importance and mutual relevance were discussed during the meeting. Defence Attaché at the British High Commissioner in Colombo, Colonel Darren Woods, was also present. The United States has underscored that equal and equitable treatment for all creditors of Sri Lanka is essential in the debt restructuring process. The Ambassador of the United States, Julie Chung, stated this during a meeting with the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, yesterday. She highlighted the need for fairness in the debt restructuring process and pointed out that transparency from every party involved is crucial. Chung reassured that the U.S. remains committed to an economic landscape that values fairness, transparency, integrity and inclusivity, ensuring stability and growth in Sri Lanka. The Grade 5 scholarship paper marking will commence today. The Commissioner General of Examinations, Amit Jayasundara, said that it will continue until the 31st of this month. The examinations chief said that he expects to release the results within 45 days. That concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
The chief incumbent of the Sri Padasthaniya, Most Venerable Bengamwe Dhammadina Thera, said that the Sri Pada pilgrim season will begin on Unduvap full moon Poe Day on December 26, 2023 and end on Vesak full moon Poe Day in May 2024. Speaking at a discussion on the commencement of the Sri Pada pilgrim season at the Ratnapura District Secretary's office, the Thera stated, the sacred relics and the statue of God Saman will be brought from the Palmadulla Galpottavela Sri Pada Rajamahaviharaya to be placed at the Sri Pa Malwa on December 26th. That came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
On to Watchlight, the Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment Manusha Nanayakara has clarified that no scams have taken place using the vehicle permits issued specially for Sri Lankan migrant workers. Addressing an event, Minister Nanayakara said that permits were issued to migrant workers to import electric vehicles based on their remittance contribution to Sri Lanka. The permits were only issued to those who had met the required criteria and after being put through a thorough check by relevant state institutions, including banks. That came to you in Watchlight. We move on to a bulletin of world news. Making headlines this morning, Netanyahu says Israel preparing for Gaza ground invasion but won't say when. U.S. Democrat lawmaker Jamal Bowman charged over false Capitol fire alarm. And Russia says it rehearsed a massive nuclear strike. Benjamin Netanyahu reiterates that Israel is preparing for a ground invasion of Gaza, but he won't say when it'll happen. The Israeli Prime Minister says this is only the beginning in a televised address from Tel Aviv. Elsewhere, US President Joe Biden said there is no going back to the status quo between Israelis and Palestinians as it stood on 6 October. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said earlier he was shocked at the reaction to a statement he made on Tuesday about the war between Israel and Hamas. He said he clearly condemned the acts of terror inflicted on Israel in remarks where he also said the attacks did not happen in a vacuum. In his original statement, Guterres had also stated, quote, the grievances of the Palestinian people cannot justify the appalling attacks by Hamas, unquote. Meanwhile, in Gaza, hospitals are stopping all but emergency services as fuel runs out. Israel has blocked fuel from reaching Gaza and accuses Hamas of stockpiling it. A congressman in the U.S. House of Representatives is expected to plead guilty to falsely triggering a fire alarm in a Capitol office building. Rep. Jamal Bowman said in a statement on Wednesday that he would pay a fine and look forward to these charges being ultimately dropped. He is facing a single charge of knowingly setting off a fire alarm falsely, according to a court filing. The New York Democrat has said that he triggered it by accident. The alarm prompted an hour-long evacuation and came as Democrats were attempting to delay a vote as they sought more time to read a stopgap funding bill and decide whether to support it. Russia has rehearsed its ability to deliver a massive nuclear strike, the Kremlin says. The military exercise involved delivering a response to an enemy nuclear strike. Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said state TV showed him recounting the rehearsal to President Vladimir Putin. It comes as Russia's parliament backed the withdrawal of Moscow's ratification of a global treaty that bans all physical testing of nuclear warheads. Russia and the United States conduct regular nuclear readiness simulations. Moscow has traditionally held its own towards the end of October. The exercises this year involved delivering a massive nuclear strike by strategic offensive forces in response to an enemy nuclear strike. Mr. Shoigu reported to President Putin. A Kremlin statement said that practical launches of ballistic and cruise missiles had taken place. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
Development news.
Lanka Satos has reduced prices of 4 essential food items with effect from yesterday. In order to help the national service that is being carried out by the government to eradicate poverty of the Sri Lankan people, Lanka Satosa, the only government-owned supermarket chain spread across the country, has decided to reduce the prices of 4 essential food items to provide relief to its consumers. Accordingly, the reduced price of 1 kilo of sambar rice is 222 rupees with a saving of 6 rupees per kilo. A kilogram of gram is now priced at 549 rupees, providing a saving of 6 rupees. The revised price of a kilo of lentils is 295 rupees, reduced by 5 rupees per kilo, and a kilo of red kakulu rice has been brought down to 169 rupees with a price reduction of 3 rupees per kilo. These essential food items can be bought by consumers from any Laksatosa store located across the country at these reduced prices from yesterday. That's development news.
Sports news is brought to you by Shakti. Refresh your mind and body with Shakti Energy Drink. 350 rupees only. Available at island-wide leading groceries and supermarkets. Shakti. Taste the power.
The World Cup match between Sri Lanka and England will be played in Bengaluru today. The match is scheduled to be played at 2:15 p.m. Both teams are at near the points of no return, with 2 points each from 4 games, as both teams have only won 1 match each. That's sports news. We look at business news next.
Shakti. Refresh your mind and body with Shakti Energy Drink. 350 rupees only. Available at island-wide leading groceries and supermarkets. Shakti. Taste the power.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The head of toy maker Mattel has been saying for years that movies would help the company revive sluggish sales. The company's latest results show just how much it needed help. Barbie billings jumped 16% in the July to September period compared with 2022, driven by the success of the first ever film starring the doll. The gains marked a big turnaround, helping to lift the company to its first quarter of sales growth in a year. That's business news. Economic news up next.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news. By 2025, artificial intelligence could increase the risk of cyber attacks and erode trust in online content, a new government report has said. The tech could even help plan biological or chemical attacks by terrorists, it warns. But some experts have questioned whether the tech will evolve as predicted. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is expected to highlight opportunities and threats posed by the technology on Thursday. The government report looks at generative AI, the type of system that currently powers popular chatbots and image generation software. It is based in part on declassified information from intelligence agencies. That's economic news.
Weather report.
Except for the northern and eastern provinces, showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the other provinces of the island after 2 p.m. Fairly heavy showers, about 50 millimeters, are likely at some places in the Sabragamo province and in Gaul, Matara and Kalutara. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the central, Sabragamo and Uva provinces during the morning. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The President unveils ambitious plans for agricultural and technological transformation. The China Foundation for Rural Development pledges to support Sri Lanka to increase rural productivity. The Grade 5 scholarship paper marking will commence today. The British High Commissioner calls on the Defence State Minister. The US envoy highlights need for fairness in Sri Lanka's debt restructuring. The Sri Pada pilgrim season begins on December 26th. Netanyahu says Israel preparing for Gaza ground invasion but won't say when. And the World Cup match between Sri Lanka and England will be played in Bengaluru today. With that, we conclude this morning's news broadcast, and now it's back to your hostess, Geetanjali, across the glass pane to keep you well entertained this Thursday morning. A very good morning to you, Geetanjali, and it's all yours.